Hey everybody, welcome back to another special edition of FSI DFS Fantasy NASCAR Picks. I'm your host, Megaguru31, and this is our 200th NASCAR video. Holy cow. Can't believe they've added up that fast. Number 200. So tomorrow, I'm recording this on Thursday night around quarter of 10. We have a truck race at 8:30 p.m. in Charlotte. There's two races this weekend. You have trucks, you have Xfinity, and you have the Coca-Cola 600 on Sunday. And unfortunately, we've got same day practice and qualifying and race. So it's always hard to make videos. So it's another speculation video. Seems like we've been doing a lot of those for trucks recently, but they've been decent. Like we've been hitting on some stuff here, looking at the data. This is cool because you have 3 races this year that really apply to this racetrack. I think we got a lot of good data, and I think we got a lot of things that will point us into the right direction for this race. So you're going to probably have lineups, or the starting line should be set around 3 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. So it should give you like 4 hours or so before lock to be able to get your 4 to 5 hours before lock to get your lineups all set. And if you want the final version of my sheet, all you have to do is go to FSI DFS. It is in the link to the website in the description of the video. It's only $5 for the whole week. Gives you, all 3 races this weekend, very, very cheap. So you'll get this Xfinity and Cup and, all the updated stuff after practice and qualifying. So how did we do this one? If you haven't watched these speculation videos before. So we look at current season data, track history, which I think is pretty relevant here. And then there's 3 other similar races on quarter mile or mile and a half intermediate tracks with low tire wear: Kansas, Las Vegas, and Tennessee, Texas. And we've raced on all of them. So like everybody has some decent data to go by here. So that's what my formula does. It looks at how they've performed the season, what their current form is, how they've performed at the track, and how they performed on several similar tracks, and how do they perform overall the composite finish on similar tracks. And I usually look at average running position on the tracks, because sometimes finish doesn't tell the whole story, and we'll get into that a little bit in the video. So put all the formula in, and then how do I assign them a starting order? I use their average starting order for this season. So and then obviously this is just putting numbers together to try to see what kind of a story it tells us, to try to help us make some potential decisions. Sometimes during these videos, I'll highlight some guys in purple, or girls, because, Haley Deegan isn't here. Some drivers, let's say that to be correct. And, and then you can look back and like make some notes and stuff. And then when you have the final things, and I'll kind of tell you too, where I think, a driver should be starting to make them a cash play, GPP play, or a fade. So we'll go through the field. We'll give you as much information as I can, as quickly as I can. And you can always leave questions in the comments below and check back, because sometimes if I'm really nice and have some time, I'll update my primes and give you some more information. So starting at the top, Ty Majeski has had the best average start for this year. If you look at his races on these tracks, they're decent. He comes back as the 5th overall rank with everything considered. So it has him finishing 2nd. So I think he's a GPP at 10.6. It just seems like he does well. 3 races here. He's got 2 top 10s. He's got a bunch of top 5s and top 10s this season, but just no wins. It just doesn't ever seem like he can just seal the deal and get it done. I know he will sometime this season. He'll definitely make the playoffs. So I think he's definitely in play here. If he does get the pole and does look good in practice, and I think, he'd switch to a cash and maybe even a prime play. There's 134 laps. It's not like it's a huge dominator race, but you do want to get if somebody is going to go out there and get a big chunk of laps led, then you do want to take advantage of that. Christian Eckes, last year ran really well at Charlotte, not great at Kansas, but didn't do too bad at Las Vegas, Tennessee. He comes back at the #1 overall composite average, but I have him finishing fourth. Like, I think he's in play for cash here at 9,800. He's had 3 races here, 1 top 5. So nothing like really jumps out other than he's led the 3rd highest percentage of laps this season, and be it like it was pretty much in one race, but with that there, I think that definitely is helpful. So I think he's in play in cash if he starts pretty much where he starts in the field. Jack Woods has qualified really well. He's in the #1 number 51, but the top Kyle Busch truck, the truck that Kyle usually drives. The problem is he usually qualifies well, but he doesn't usually end well. So he's going to be a GPP for me here. Nothing too exciting. I like the equipment. If he starts 20th on back, I think he'll be a great play. But if he's starting closer to the front like he has been, would qualify really well, he just doesn't end races well. So 22nd average running position in Charlotte last year, 18th in Texas this year. So composite on tracks, 19th, 20th overall. So not super huge fan here. Corey Heim has led a lot of laps this season. He has the 2nd best composite average. He looks like he was top 5 or top 10, like almost every running position, every race that has corresponded. He's got a really good truck here, so I think he's a solid in play for cash at 10-4. Reason I didn't give him a prime is I already had one 10K guy, and I didn't want to give too many, but I think, if these prime plays work out, if you can squeeze him in, I think he's a solid 4th guy in your lineup. Nicholas Sanchez, I want to start here, and obviously he's on the cover. He almost won Texas, which is a comparable track. He was right there with Zane Smith. He had the dominant truck. He led most of the day. He was just super impressive. And then he just kind of lost it, got loose, took Zane Smith out, and then Carson Hocevar luck back to win. We knew Carson Hocevar was going to win eventually. I think Carson Hocevar was happy to finally have won and got the monkey off his back. But I think, he really wants to win a race when he has like the best truck and dominates, not just happens to be there because his average running position for that race was like 11th. So, he just was in the right place towards the end of the race. And the leaders, but kudos to him. Same thing, we say with Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman has a bunch of wins where he just kept his car in position to win and just waited for the cars in front of him to make mistakes and could, just get past them at a final restart or with chaos and overtime and be able to get the win. So regardless, back to Nick Sanchez here. Besides Las Vegas, Kansas, he got so much better. Texas looked really good here, 4th overall in composite. If I look at like all these like average on similar tracks and all things considered, so I think he's definitely going to solid be in play here, and it looks like he's almost like going to be a 6x value potentially. Enfinger, another probably decent cash play. Between he and Heim, we'll just have to see how they look in qualifying. Last year ran a top 10 overall, 8th overall, so definitely like Heim better. But he's had 6 races here at Charlotte, has finished all of them, 9th place overall finish average, whereas Heim in 3 races here has had a 14th place overall average. And Enfinger has been in good form recently also after starting off the season like kind of sluggish. So at 10K again, you're going to have to make a decision. You can't play all these like high price guys, but I think he'd be my 2nd favorite guy behind Heim. But it all depends on like if Majeski has a dominating truck, I potentially he could be the one there. So Ben Rhodes, I think he's Hocevar here. With the cursor so we know what we're talking about. Sorry about that. Hocevar's been up and down on these tracks. So Charlotte last year looked really good. Dominant truck, almost won it, but didn't. Been like kind of the story of his life. Kind of reminds me of Hemrick from Xfinity, just so close all these times, but just doesn't always get it done in the end. But it's consistently there. Kansas struggled a little bit. Las Vegas looked good. Texas was okay, but ended up winning it. So, 2 races here, 9th overall finish, but he's led a lot of laps. So he's not afraid to get out there and get out front. So, I mean, that's a good thing to hear. But I think a GPP, just because I've seen like kind of on these 1.5 tracks where he's either been really good or really bad, that doesn't show consistency of floor to me. So I don't think it's a cash play. But again, practice and qualifying, if he goes out there and he's a 10K truck that looks the best, then obviously he's going to switch to a cash play and be someone you want to put into your lineup. Ben Rhodes, I think cash is based on the price and all the experience here. He's raced here 7 times and finished all of them. Overall finish at 8th, has led some laps, but again, he's wasn't great at Charlotte and Kansas, but he looks good at Las Vegas and Texas. 3rd overall in composite when we looked at everything. No, sorry, that's Zane Smith. Rhodes is 6th overall, which isn't bad. Hasn't finishing 7th, so I think if he starts in the top 6, if he's up in the top 5, he's more a GPP play. I think if he starts 6 on down, I think he can definitely be a cash play. Zane Smith, I'm going to give him the prime tag here. Consistently almost top 5 running position for all these things. 3rd overall in composite. My model has him potentially winning this race. He's led 19, almost 20% of the laps that he has run here. His average finish is 6th. Again, he probably was up there challenging in Texas to win. He's just been such a solid, I say hands down, the best driver in the truck series currently. So I think, no matter where he starts in the field, it's probably going to lock him in and play a lot of Zane Smith. Chase Purdy, GPP here. Just look at the numbers, like 19th overall composite. He's in a good truck and everything, but 24th overall finish here in 2 races. Just nothing really points that he could potentially be going in the right direction. Not going to say he's a fade. Like 8,100 is a decent price tag here with the equipment and the potential he has, but you're talking, you're looking for like ceiling here more than having a safe floor. So that's a GPP play, not cash. Friesen's just a GPP play all season long here, no matter where he starts or what he does, except for like I think last week when he was in the backfield, and he got up there pretty fast in North Wilkesboro. So that was decent. So then I switched him to a cash play. I think I even made him a prime play, just because he was starting so far back because he couldn't qualify or something like that. But Friesen is he got great equipment. He's a good driver and everything. He just hasn't been like super dominant this year to, make value at his price usually. So, he's been consistently average. It's not like somebody like Hocevar where he's been like really good and really not so good and really good and not so good. Like Friesen is consistent, but he just hasn't been. So I guess he does have some floor, so maybe he should be a cash play, but he just doesn't make value enough for me to consider him in cash usually, unless he starts way far down, because he's not. If he starts anywhere beyond 20th, then he's probably almost a lock, because he's definitely a top 15 with obvious top 10 potential, and he could win a race at any point too. Unless it looks like they got damage or there's something broken in the truck in practice and qualifying and they're struggling to get it fixed, then then maybe he still says GPP. Matt Crafton, veteran here, 20 races here, 2 wins, 13 top 10s, led over 100 laps, all things considered 9th overall. So I think he's always in play in cash. So he has the floor that I'm looking for in Friesen. Always just seems to be consistent in everything he does. So I like playing a lot of Matt Crafton, but he might be priced in no man's land here because I really want Zane Smith. I'm probably gonna look at another 10K guy. I want Sanchez at 83. My other prime player we're gonna get to is a value play. So I don't know if you can fit one of these guys in your lineup. They might be just kind of a pivot. Next side, Jake Garcia here. I do really kind of like as a cash play. He seems like average running position or finish position is like 10th. So if he starts below 10th, I think he definitely has some potential to get up there. He raced here once, finished 8th. So he's a talented young driver in decent equipment. He's like similar story to Nicholas Sanchez, but just kind of like a lighter version of him. Sometimes I like pairing the two of them together just because I do know there's a lot of potential there. I have them finishing at almost like 5x, which is or 5.4x, which is good. You know, finishing in the top 10. You know, lots of positive things here, and at 7,700, it's a decent price. Tanner Gray is usually pretty solid too, 8,700, 12th overall in composite here in average finish. So, you know, if he starts outside the top 10, even if he's like 15th or like the further on down, really is a decent play. Usually is able to get up and finish in the top 15. So never going to win a race, probably not going to lead any laps, but at 87, if he can get you like 5 to 10 place differential points, I think that's great. Betty Benedetto, GPP, like there have been some situations where I really liked him recently, but his price is creeping up there again, 9,200. So not great at Texas, but again, he's kind of like looks like the Corey Haim peaks and values here. It's like 10th overall running position, almost 20th overall running position, 12th running position, 20th. So it's like up and down these mile and a half tracks. So not real consistency. Couple issues with some of the tech on the truck. I've seen it break down a couple times too over the course of the season. 17th overall last year. So nothing that really jumps out at me. Again, if he starts like below 20th, I think it's a much better play. But again, like somebody at 9.2 is going to be probably in no man's land if you're playing my prime plays and trying to get the other 10K guy in there. Unless he comes out and actually dominates and like practice and qualifying against the pole, I think he's going to be GPP. Ankrum, really like him here also in the Satori Toyota. Average running position last year is 18th. So, you know, if he starts 15th on back, I think he's a solid play here. He's got like 14th overall finish. So if he kind of finish where he starts, finished 17th last year in one race here. Again, it's not probably going to lead a ton of laps or anything, or if any at all, but he's just somebody that seems to have some decent floor. All depends on his starting position. If he starts above 15, then he definitely goes to a GPP. But if he starts 15 on down, I think you can play him in cash. Haley Deegan, starting to make a couple mistakes again. Some drivers are frustrated with her last time after there was an on-track incident. I think maybe she and like Brett Holmes did not look good at Charlotte last year here. Kansas did show some promise. Las Vegas and Texas was okay. Texas, I think she was up in the top 5 or so, and I think she ended up wrecking towards the end. I don't believe it was her fault, but 23rd overall in composite on these mile and a half tracks. 2 races here, 20th overall. So it all depends. If she becomes a cash play if she starts outside the top 20. If she starts inside the top 20, then she's a GPP play. If she starts like the top 10, then I think she gets close to being a fade. Caruth, like we've seen him run well like 3/4 of the race, but then it seems towards the end of the race he ends up like making a mistake, wrecking or getting wrecked. 16th overall, so there's some promise there. But last year he finished 34th in this race. So I'm not going to hold that against him. I think that's kind of bring him down a little bit, but I think he's in play in a GPP. I think I like him if he starts 20th on back, kind of like Haley Deegan. You're saving $600 on Deegan, but I think either one of them might be some value plays to not like bottom of the barrel value plays, but some consistent floor value plays if you're trying to round out a cash lineup. Tanner Gray, or Taylor Gray, not as good as his brother Tanner, but the truck's decent. It's a Tricon truck. He hasn't run a ton of races, but Kansas and Texas, like his overall running position, were top 12, 16th overall, 15th in rank, and it has him like moving up 6 positions and finishing 13th. Last year he ran this race and he finished in the top 10 and with 9th. So I definitely like him if he's starting 15th on back. 85 is again might be in no man's land, but if you can get up to him, or if he's the last guy into your cash lineup, then that's a really, really solid play, I think. David Gillian is I believe it's Todd Gillian's father. Raced in Truck Series for many, many years. If I have the wrong person, if not, put it in the comments and then I'll apologize and you can correct me. But I'm pretty sure David Gillian's the father here. Very experienced driver, maybe a little bit rusty, but he's driving this #1 Tricon garage truck, which is kind of like the all-star truck that they've been throwing out there. So it's a solid truck, good tech. There's 2 races at Charlotte, 16th overall finish. I think, depending on if he starts too far up, then I think, he's a fade, but it has him starting at 20th. So if he starts outside the top 15, I think he's a great play just with his experience and the equipment. But we'll see what happens there. Brett Holmes, really struggling in Vegas. Around top 20, track average is like 28th. So one race here, finished 36th. GPP, like unless he's starting in the 30s, I don't think he's really playable unless you're trying to get value play with place differential. Daniel Dye, I really like this this 43 truck. Just all the numbers look really good. I know he struggled a little bit at Texas, but Kansas and Las Vegas weren't bad. For 5,800, if he can, you're probably looking for top 25. So if he starts 20th on back, I think that's really the sweet spot for him. Just to finish where he starts, if he starts in the 30s, I think it's even better because you can get some place differential. 20th overall composite average on 1.5 tracks. Raced here last year, finished 13th. So I think that's something to definitely look at potentially. Either that or I don't think it was a similar track. I think that was Charlotte, but if not, if it might have been 13th on a similar track. But all things considered, I really like him at 5,800. I think he's one of my favorite value plays here on the slate. Colby Howard, I think you can play in cash. Like he just seems to do really well. He's one of these lower price guys, even though he's like raced up to like 68. Finished 14th here last year, 19th overall finishing position and 21st overall composite. Have him raising up to finish in 19th in the top 20. So I think he's solid. Lawless Allen's a GPP, 26 overall. Dean Thomas, like the truck's better than the driver, I think. Really struggled at Charlotte last year, struggled at Kansas, but Las Vegas and Texas were a little bit better here. So I do see some promise. Finished 28th here last year. So, at 7K, I'd really probably like to take a shot more on like Colby Howard or Daniel Dye, or maybe even, I don't know if I could play Brett Holmes, like Rashad Cruz, I think. But, again, it's contact, you'll have to see where he starts. Tyler Hill in the Hill Motorsports truck. I think Timmy's a much better driver than him. Like, he's had 5 races here and his average finish is 20th. So, I mean, that's not horrible. Something to consider, but again, you just have to see where he starts. Slight concerns with the tech on the truck. I don't think he's going to be a start in park or anything, but again, you'll just have to see like 20. If he starts 25th on back, I think he's playable. If he's anywhere above 25th, he's getting close to being a fade. Bailey Curry is a really good like kind of bargain guy, usually for Xfinity series. He hasn't raced much in the truck series, but when he has, he's scored pretty well. But 8,200 is just kind of hard in no man's land. Like it's really close to like Chase Purdy and like Tanner Gray, and we can save money and get like Ankrum. I just in context, 4 races, 24. He's only finished like 2 of the 4 races that he's run. So again, I think he's pretty risky. So GPP, Chris Wright, I mean, he's starting dead last or something like that. I think he potentially play. Nothing too exciting there. Spencer Boyd, I think a lot of us played him, and he just couldn't even stay on the lead lap when this young truck. Like these young trucks just really seem to struggle. Josh Rayum, I think everybody's going to qualify, but if didn't, he might be one to. He's in the Rayum truck. He's not in another truck. Like he's better when he drives a truck that's not a Rayum truck. These trucks are usually slow, probably won't stay on the lead lap. Ryan Vargas is another Xfinity driver that came over. This on point Toyota truck is not bad, but he just hasn't raced much in the truck series. He did at Texas. Overall running position is 23. From his Xfinity days, 21 overall. So he might be a sleeper here, but 7,600 puts him in a GPP range. Unless he's like starting like way far down here, but that's just going to be a hard price in no man's land, I think, to get to. Matt Mills, again, is another former Xfinity driver that's been in a truck series, but these young trucks are not good. Really not great driving here. Justin S. Carroll, I might consider him now. I have him as a fade, but I think I like this like single truck team, family owned team here, because numbers aren't great. If he starts in the 30s, I think he out of this like kind of scrubs down here, he's kind of got the best shot at it. One race finished 14th, but that's not horrible. Maglio, the AM racing truck I really like. It's the old Austin Wayne South truck, but Maglio really hasn't shown much. Again, Keith Mazzei, having a second Ram truck here, it might be a start and park. I think I'm very scared with that. And this glory to God truck last week caught on fire. I think that was a 47. Didn't even make it to qualifying. I don't see how this, unless there's major attrition, how, especially with the driver, you're going to do anything but finish last or second to last. Really no upside at 5K. For $800 more, give me Daniel Dye. Or for like $200 less, give me like Justin Carroll. So that's pretty much what I got. Again, we just got to see what practice and qualifying bring us. Really like Sanchez, Thane Smith, and Dye. I think that's where I'm starting. Then, going to try to get in either Heim and Finger, Hocevar, Eckes, whoever in this like high 9K, 10K range seems to be the best other choice. And then I haven't done the math to see how much money I have left, but I'm going to fill in with some of these mid-range people. So probably like a Jake Garcia, an Akram, if I can get to a Taylor Gray, a David Gillian, Colby Howard. That's how I'm going to round out my lineup. Again, depends on all their practice. So like I said, you can put questions in chat below. If I have the time for an update, I might throw, after I see all the information, some updated information in there. But if you go into the description of the video, again, you can sign up for FSI DFS. It is only $5 for the whole week. It'll get you all 3 races and like all the updated information. And if these videos help you at all, or if thank you for all of you who've been watching our 200 videos. I don't know if anybody's watched all 200 of them. If you have, you are awesome. Thank you so much. Maybe put your name in the chat. I'll give you a shout out for that. So appreciate it. So if these videos have been helpful to you, then appreciate you watching. Help us back by liking the video, sharing with your friends, subscribing to our channel. Just helps us reach more and more people when you do that. So appreciate you watching. Hope everybody has a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for all the people who served in the military, fought for our country, gave up their lives, so we can have the freedom to do what we do in this country. So Please take some time to celebrate it with your family and friends this weekend, but also take some time to reflect on the freedoms that we have and the price that was paid to keep it that way. So thanks again for watching. Good luck in your contests. I should be back with the Xfinity and Cup videos this weekend. And here's to another 200. See you next time.